I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome. It is time for the week 47 mixed media prompt project for hashtag Crafty Hope Prompts. Now, Crafty Hope Prompts is a challenge I started October of 2022 in which I decided to develop a little prompt project for myself. I really enjoy doing challenges with prompts, and it was kind of a lull, and I was like, you know what, let me make my own. So with the knowledge that there are 52 cards in a playing card deck and 52 weeks in a year, I thought it was a perfect opportunity for a weekly challenge. So I made a list of prompts, and it ended up I had to add a couple to get to 156, but that means I have 3 prompts a week. So I'm drawing from a can 3 prompts a week each Monday and altering a playing card. Each side includes those prompts. One side has the prompt words on them, and the other side is just decorative. I do this so that later on I will have a full deck of prompt cards so that I can pull those individually or together and create with those prompts. So that's my general idea, but you know, since I plan on combining those prompts with other cards later, I am also doing a Saturday project in which I take those prompts and do something else. All kinds of things. I did some floral abstracts, I believe, this past week. I've done art journal pages and junk journal pages and assemblages and wall hangings and jewelry and all kinds of things. So I've got a full playlist you'll find at the end. And yeah, so you can click on that and kind of go down it. My battery's dying. Let me swap that out real quick. I'm back. I lost my train of thought. I think I was saying that I have a full prompt list. You can get that prompt list also. Oh, I was saying you could see the whole, yeah, all the things I've made. I also have that prompt list below if you want 156 prompts to do with whatever you will. I have opened this up to anybody that wants to play along. That's what the hashtag is there for, but I've come to realize that you need to really also tag me because I want to see what you've made. So if you use my prompts by pulling my prompt list or using the prompts that I have each week, then yeah, tag me so I can see what you make as well. So let's talk about what I'm going to do this week for my prompt project. My prompts this week, I made this card using the prompts yellow, paper punch, and oil pastel. So those are a little difficult. This card was a little difficult, but let me tell you what I've got for yellow. I immediately pulled out some paint. I've got this I think it's Indian yellow from Lucas, as well as my favorite yellow ochre, just a yellow ochre I love. I don't know, that yummy color. I don't know, you can see I kind of like mustardy yellows. I also grabbed some embroidery floss because I'm going through a stitch kick right now, as evidenced by my iCAD vlog series in which I did stitches every day. So that's my yellow for paper punch. All right, you can already get a glimpse over here. I pulled out my big box of paper punches that has all kinds of stuff, y'all, in it. But a lot of them are, look at this, flowers, 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 flowers. So, and I think that may not even be all of them. There may have been a couple other tiny ones. I bought most of these with the intent, you can see like these two are kind of the same shape and these two are the same thing, and let's see, this one goes with these, but it was with the intent of stacking them, and I used to do that, and I did this whole thing where I coated them and made these, anyway, I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in years, but these have been gathering dust, so I thought that would be a great way to go ahead and use them the way I intended them for. I should find some new ways to use them, but I'm gonna just go maybe back to the basics for today. We'll see. We're gonna see how this works out. Oil pastel. So y'all, when I pulled out my oil pastels last week, you saw I had so many of them and I don't ever use them. So I put the Crayola ones and the portfolio ones in a box of stuff I'm destashing and may sell later. Stay tuned for that. I'm kind of putting boxes of stuff I'm getting rid of together as I find things because I have too many things. So I am keeping these two because they're vintage. I don't know how old they are. I don't know, you know, they're just old oil pastels that have been used. This one's missing colors, you know, and then this one I have used a bunch, and you know, some of them are broken and worn down and, you know, that kind of thing. So I decided I would keep these for myself, but those other two are basically brand new. So I will, yeah, be getting rid of those other two. So that's my oil pastels. Let me tell you what I think I'm gonna do. I told you that I kind of want to do stacking flowers here. I am going to work in a junk journal. You may have seen that in the title. So I have my Rusted Roots art journal that I created as part of it's a Michelle of Michelnay taught the class on the Southern Gals Designs Creative Academy. I will have a link to that below. I believe you can still get it. I love this journal. I most recently made this page. I think I want to work on this beautifully rusted one. I will zoom out a bit, maybe. But to start, I'm going to alter some papers so that I can punch them out. And so I'm going to do a bit of a master board, I believe, so that I can punch out some flowers. So I'm going to get to that. I'm going to make myself a little bit of space, maybe zoom out a little, and we'll get to it. So the papers I chose for this were fairly thin ones because since I was going to layer things on top of it, I didn't want to make papers that were so thick that I wouldn't be able to punch with them, but I still end up having issues. You'll see that when I get to the paper punching part. But really, I just wanted to give some interest. So these are basically like little master boards. If you've never made a master board before, it's all about collaging and mark making and layering things on top of a single substrate that you then cut down into pieces so that the individual pieces have a lot of little interesting bits to them. And that's all I really want to do for this paper punch. That's what I really find interesting about the paper punching. Now I decided that, so I started by collaging down just some papers with my glue stick, and now I'm bringing in my oil pastels. And I decided to make each of these 3 papers that I'm kind of masterboarding kind of do a color theme. So this first one's going to be like pinks and reds. I think that was it. And I was kind of keeping with the idea of like flower colors. I wasn't going to do a whole lot of like blues and greens. I mean, there are blue and green flowers, but for the most part, not. And I wanted to keep in the idea of that. I also wanted like lights and darks so that they had like ways to contrast themselves. So I put down like a peach and a pink oil pastel there, and now I've got a red one. And yeah, y'all can see I was just kind of playing around with that a little bit. And then because I love the way that an oil pastel resists like watercolors and other water media, I have brought in, this is my Jane Davenport Brights watercolor set, and I'm using like the really bright pink one that's in there. And just painting over this to get some color. I'll also do a little bit of splatter on here. And yeah, so I'm playing with this. Now, just like before when I mentioned I don't use oil pastels much, I'm struggling with how it's best to use them. Like I said, I like them here as a resist. I like that when you use them, they're not going to, it's one of the few products that I have that isn't water soluble. I love water soluble things. And so I do see how oil pastels are great in that they don't move when you use them and you add. But what are other ways that you can use them? I do watch Studio Stacy, and she does a lot of encaustic art. And I believe that with encaustic, you can't use like acrylic products, but you might be able to use oil products. So I've seen her use oil sticks to rub into some of her encaustic art. So, but I'd love to know if you have some ways that you enjoy using oil pastels or ways that I haven't experimented with in this series that you would suggest me trying. Please comment below with those ideas and suggestions of how best to use oil pastels. I think I need that. So here's another piece of paper. This is a book page. If you watch one of my Thrifty Thursday videos, you have possibly seen me reveal this trigonometric tables book that I picked up at the library. And so this is just half a page from one of those. But I layer down just a little bit of collage. This page is going to be my orange and yellow one. So I went ahead and put down, those are receipts from when I pulled receipt for my Crafty Hope prompts. And I've got a little bit of orange oil pastel there that I'm just making some marks around on there, especially in like the areas that don't have anything. So then I've got this yellow one, and y'all, I was showing y'all that one. It was super bright. It seemed like in the stick form, it seemed super bright, but I don't know. Maybe that was just me. I'm making my marks there, and of course yellow isn't, I don't know, super bright, but I was like, whatever. And so I dipped into my other ones, y'all. This is seriously, I'm talking y'all through what y'all can see. This one is more of a yellow orange color, and at that point I was like, okay, I think I've got enough oil pastels on here. Let me bring in some yellow. The yellow that was in my brights, it felt like it was the same bright yellow that I had used with the oil pastel, and I wanted something different, so I grabbed this metallic set, and there's a gold in the set, but there's also a yellow. And so I'm putting down some of this yellow metallic. I don't know that you'll actually end up seeing it in the flowers later, but on the paper itself, when it's dry, it's super cool. And then I decided to use like another orangey yellow from my other watercolor palette. So, and I'm putting these aside to dry while I work on each of them. I'm in the end, you'll see in a minute after I do my third one that I will use my heat tool to dry them all, but keeping in mind that what oil pastels will melt a little because of the wax that's in them. So this last piece of paper is just a copy page. When I did my Seek, Gather, Create week 3, which I just put up, put up on Thursday, I had copied a couple little things I ended up using in it and had this left over, and I was like, you know what, it would be fine background. Like I said, I wanted something kind of dark here as well, so yeah, I'm just using that. And this is copied from the back of, I really wish I could remember what the book was, but the author of the book provided you with several things that you could copy out and use in your own work, and that's where this is from. So I'm collaging again down a few darker pieces. Again, there's some eco print and a little bit of, actually what I'm putting down right now is Christmas wrapping paper. I liked the Christmas wrapping paper that was there. And I decided this one is going to be more of like purples and magentas. So, and I found that these older sets of oil pastels have no purple in them, like none. Everything was a little more pastel-y, so I had to dip into my other one that I've got to get some of the purples and magentas out of. I even put a little red in here because there's not a whole lot of selection in the magentas as well. So, and again, I'm just making marks, things that, because it's not going to matter. When I cut this down into flower shape, what the marks are doesn't matter. I was just kind of making marks that felt good to my hands. So I got some purple, and now this is a little bit of violet. And I have bits and pieces because I was rushing that didn't get glued down. So of course I've got to glue them down, y'all. I really should have sped this up a bit more. I apologize if this is tedious or monotonous to you. But see there, I was experimenting. I really loved when I drug that magenta through the lines of that purple, that I don't know, they blended so nicely. So maybe I should have been experimenting a little bit more with some of the properties of them working together, maybe just blending these a bit more. So is that a way you like to use oil pastels? I don't know. All right, so there I am finally, I think, finishing up with my pastels. I made a lot of marks on this one. It felt like it needed more color to it. And then I'll dip into those bright watercolors again, and I think I'm gonna mix both the purple that's in there along with some of the magenta-ish, and I can't remember what the colors are, because they're fun words like fairy tale and ladybug and things like that. And so I can't remember what the actual colors are. It's a fun set though. I love that really bright watercolor set. I think the only thing I don't like about it, there's not an orange, but there's enough red and that yellow that you can make an orange in there, enough pinks and that you can make an orange in it. So it's fun. All right. We are finishing this up finally, I think. So I'm going to, I know what I do. I decide I needed, those first two were so light that they needed a pop of something on them. So I start by pulling out what was that? A paint marker, and I realized that those little dots were not something I needed. Instead, what I really wanted was a little bit of black splatter. So I'm using my Sharpie water-based paint pen to just fling some black splatter on this pink one, and then also I'll pull out the yellow one and do the same thing, because that last one, it definitely had some black in it, but this one just didn't. These two did not. So once I get the splatter down on both of these, I will dry it. And you can see that yellow one is still kind of wet. So yeah, that was interesting, because some of that, since it is water based, did bleed a little bit. So I'm gonna lay these out. And I was putting that yellow one the pink one was a little more dry. So I'm going to start with my paper punches and start punching out these flowers. Now this first one, I have to tell you, it works a lot better like on the floor, because my desk is high, I can't get the leverage really to push it down all the way. So that's going to become an issue. And you can see it also because it's got so many tines on it, it gets clogged. I have to pull out some tweezers to get the papers out of it. See, in this one, I completely tear up. I could not get it to punch all the way through. I tried a couple times. See, here I move it down to the floor to try to do it. And still, just because the first one didn't go through, it was a mess. So I end up picking that one out, and so this one I'm showing you, I'm putting it there, I move it down to the floor, I punch it, I knocked my camera in the process, but it's okay. So, and then I will go to the next biggest one. So basically I'm starting with my biggest punches here, and then wherever I have space, I'll use the smaller ones. So, and I like to work with the punches, if I can, upside down like this, so I can kind of see what I'm getting and make sure that I'm on the paper completely. But these other ones that don't have like the little lever on them, they're a little bit harder to, you have to really use your weight. This one was easier than the really big one. I think maybe I need to sharpen the bigger one. If you don't know, for some reason, I don't know how it works. My husband has assured me that he thinks it's a bunch of bull, but to sharpen a paper punch like that, you're supposed to use aluminum foil and punch it. But my husband says it doesn't make any sense. So I'm just spreading what I've heard. That's the word on the street, y'all. And I've done it, and I cannot confirm or deny whether it works. All right, so as you can see, I took several of my flowers. I start with the big one and then pick a smaller one of a different color and then an even smaller one of a different color. And these first several ones, I'm layering 4 of these flowers together, and then I'm using that embroidery floss to make a French knot. So I'm pulling it up from the back and making my French knot and then cutting it. And y'all, that was my favorite part. I pulled the threads apart like that and it untwists, and then I'm tying a double knot and trimming it off. So I'll walk you through that again a little bit as I stack it. And I had 2 different strands of that embroidery floss tied and on needles already, so I was good. So I'm stacking my flowers here, just kind of picking out different layers of colors, and then I am poking a hole from the front of where I want my knot, and then coming in through the back. And this one I was getting a little floppy with, so making sure my hole was punched, coming in from the back, pulling that up, wrapping the thread around my needle several times, and then going back through in a different spot to make a French knot, pulling it through. Pulling it through so my French knot is on the front and holding them together, trimming my thread with enough space so that I can pull some of those threads apart, and then tying a double knot. I think I'm going to show this to you maybe most of one more time. I'm not sure how I ended up editing this. But I wanted y'all to clearly see the process of me making these stacked flowers. And I tried to mix up like what the order was. I tried to make sure, that the same colors didn't touch the same colors every time. Something like that. So here again, I have stacked them. I'm going to get them lined up, punch a hole, then go through the back. And I'm going to tell you that when I got down to where I was only stacking 3 of them then I wasn't making the French knot every time. I was just making a simple little seed stitch, so that just because it was a little bit easier with the smaller ones than trying to make a French knot every time. So in here we're going to spin it open and then tie my double knot. And I think that's where I'm going to leave y'all. Yep. So once I had almost all, I think I only had 3 flowers left over, I decided they were just a little too bright for me and for my grungy style and for that rusty page I was going to use. So I needed to grunge them up a little, and I'm using some walnut stain distress ink and an ink dauber. And you can see just kind of loosely inking these flowers, getting the edges a little, getting the top of them, making sure, I don't know, it really worked, y'all. I don't know how to explain how much more I liked these flowers once I inked them than I did before I did. It's such a before and after transformation. So I will link up the walnut ink and an ink dauber down below if you don't have it. Of course, you don't have to use that. You could use any kind of brown ink pad or brown ink and like a cosmetic sponge to do something similar. You don't have to go get the expensive things, but I will have them linked below, and it will take you to Amazon. And as my disclaimer, if you buy anything through my link, I get like a fraction of a percentage of the proceeds. There is no extra cost to you, but I do make something off of it if you purchase it. So I just have to tell you that. So there's also a disclaimer in the description box. So make sure you click that more button below so that you can see everything in the description box. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. Okay, so I have inked them all. I love them so much more, and I'm going to look at them on top of that page real quick just to make sure. Yeah, I like that. And what I decided is I needed a face of some kind, and oh no, I needed color first. So I have got, oh my gosh, I can't think what color this is. Sea glass, I think. If I am, I will have it also in the description box below in case I'm wrong. And I started to grab a paintbrush, but I decided, it's not what I wanted. I wanted this more organic feeling, so I used my fingers to just smear this paint around a little bit, and I love how it blended on that page, how it looks. There was just a little bit wet on there. I tried to move a bamboo skewer through it, but it didn't really do much. And to bring yellow back in again, I am grabbing that yellow ochre and I'm going to make some finger dots. So I am, just again, dipping my finger in the paint, making some dots all over my page. I'm really doing it just on that bottom left and upper right to kind of balance it. And you can see I did it one way in one place and the other way in the other. I'm going to close it up and grab my Stabilo all pencil and just kind of go around just one time around each of the circles. Often I'll go around more and make messy doodles, but I knew that wasn't going to be the focal of this. What the focal was going to be is a face. And I really thought I was going to go get a face out of it. Actually, I did. I pulled several faces. I flipped through a couple fashion magazines and pulled out some faces. And while I was doing that, remembered that I had a whole 100-day project where I was drawing faces every day. So I had 100 drawn faces. So yeah, you'll see all of that in just a second. So I did wet my Stabilo so it could trip and activate, and then I decided, let's bring the oil pastel in again. So I took a black one, and again, making just some marks, getting something else on this page, pushing back some of the other things, just really kind of enjoying the process of playing on some paper with these products. So, yeah. So like I said, I stepped away, went through, here are some faces I found in a magazine and was like, I might use those. But then I went and looked at some of the 100 faces I had drawn and was looking at which ones might fit on this page. And I came to this one, which is on a piece of deli paper that had some kind of gold ink or something on it. And I drew it with a Stabilo all pencil, and then activated it to make the shadows. So I was like, this could be really fun. I am going to try this one. So I'm going to fussy cut it just a little bit so it's not so rectangular. And I'm going to put it down on my page and take a look at it. And I like that with this, I'm going to be able to see some of that rust dye, some of that color, all of those things. And I decided to use my Ooh glue stick to stick it down because I was afraid anything I got on the top of it would reactivate that Stabilo. And you see, I took a second to try to decide if I was going to put it front ways down or back ways down just so that nothing did smear on it. But I decided to go ahead and, because even getting the glue down, if I had put it on the face, I was afraid it was going to smear. So I did it, so it was top up, I guess. And just carefully laid her out. And y'all, look, I can see all of that blue and the dots and the mark making the rust. And I love it. So now I'm going to go ahead and start arranging my flowers in her hair. And y'all, I have to say, I really love the style of having flowered hair. But the end of this, I love her, but at the same time, it reminds me of those swim caps or shower caps that ladies in the 50s had with all the flowers on them. I think it's swim caps, like from synchronized swimming or something, maybe. I don't know. It's what it makes me think of is something from the 50s, but it's okay. I think it's pretty awesome either way. To stick these down, I'm going to put Fabri-Tac on the back of them, and I'm really sticking kind of to the center of the flowers and making sure I overlap so they don't move too much, and making sure I get all my knots. And then I'm just sticking them down, and I don't mind if some of the flowers are like fluffing up because it gives them that 3D effect and feel, which I love. I'm okay with that, to have a little 3D in this. And the knots that I put on it also give it that like texture. So it's pretty awesome. I'm super happy with it. I was having some trouble with my Fabri-Tac because it it just didn't want to come out of the bottle. I know other people don't have, their videos don't make it look like they have as much problem with the Fabri-Tac as I do. I think I need to get one of those things, or have my husband 3D print one of those holders that will hold it upside down. So, but I don't know if that would be good since I just used the T-pin, if the T-pin would get pushed out. If you've got one of those upside down glue holders, let me know how it works for you and how you keep it from pouring out. I started to not put all of my flowers on here, but then I thought, what am I going to do with them if I don't? They'll just end up, floating around in my stash, and yeah, I don't need that. So I've got this one last one, and I'm moving it around, trying to decide would it will work here or over there, and finally I was like, you know what, just stick it right there. It'll make it even with the other one on the other side. And those are my flowers all stuck down. The last thing I felt like I needed was a pop of like black on here and a sentiment. So I'm combining the two and pulling out the Tim Holtz Metallics stickers and selected the phrase, "Remember the Now." And I'm going to stick that down. And that's it, y'all. This one is done. It was a little lengthy because I had to, it was several projects in one. The whole making of the masterboard, punching of the things, sewing them together, but the page itself came together super quick. And I've used all 3 of my prompts. I will have another set of prompts on Monday. If you have any questions about this project, about the prompts, about how you can play along, or anything else, and any suggestions on how I can use oil pastels, please let me know. Alright guys, I hope you like this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see y'all on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye.